Hi, Coach Claire here. We're entering week 6 of our in-home program here for strength training. As you recall now, if you've been with us, we started out with our foundation program. We did 2 weeks where we were doing eccentric exercises. We spent another 2 weeks doing isometric exercises. Now we're going to move forward with 2 weeks of our concentric exercises. Concentric is actually pushing the weights. It's where we're doing our power output part of our body movements. A lot of people call this the rock star of weightlifting. When kids come in the weight room or men come in the weight room, yeah, how much can you bench press is usually some of the talk rather than how much can you eccentrically lower. So pushing, that is the kind of thing we really like to do. So as we start to enter into this, I want to kind of take you through our V again, because it's going to be important as to how we do our concentric workouts now. If you recall, a few weeks ago I was showing you the triphasic V. Now again, that first blue line you see going down represents that eccentric work that you did, where you're lowering the weight, building energy into the muscle, basically lowering the weight but stretching that muscle, building energy. The bottom part, that point, is the isometric phase of the program, where we're holding that as we start to make the change. This week is where we make that change, going to the up portion of the V, again, making that the concentric part of the exercise. And if you'll remember, the blue line being much sharper showed much better power output, much better performance from Ben versus Tommy because of the leaking in the other phases of the exercise. Let me kind of demonstrate that for you also as to how that's going to work physically. I'm going to take a ball here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by putting the ball up here, and I'm going to bounce it. But I'm going to do it from a perspective of where I'm not really loading a lot of energy. My eccentric work is kind of weak. And if you'll notice, I even drop the ball a little. My isometric, I can't hold it. And then I drop it. Not much force is generated because of that. I'm going to pick up our ball again. Now let's do our bend phase, where we start out really loading the muscle with energy. We don't leak. But now, importantly, we thrust the ball down. Much more power is generated. That's the point of what we want to get to today, is strength versus power. I've told many of you guys the stories in the past where we've had football players here at Windsor who can really do a lot of weight. They are very strong, have been in the past. I remember one particular lineman, he could squat up to 550, 600 pounds. This was years ago, had all of our strength records, but couldn't on the field generate that into power. Quite frankly, he wasn't even one of our starters, yet he was one of the strongest guys on the field. The point being here is that he couldn't generate that strength into explosive power and speed. So what we're going to work on now is that idea of speed. All right, now, does working with lighter weights but moving them faster, is that as good as working heavy and working with strength? To answer that, let's go to science. Many of you have been in physics, some of you will be taking it. So what I'm going to show you is a physics formula. It's Newton's second law of motion. F equals m times a, or force is mass times acceleration. Force equals mass times acceleration. We can get stronger without heavy weights, but we need to move the weights quickly. We need to move them with a lot of force. All right? What we'll do in your workouts now is, even though you're only working with moderate amounts of weight, start to push them faster. Start to push them faster through your concentric phase. You will get stronger because you're moving the weight more quickly. So even if you don't have a lot of weight and you're thinking I'm pretty much maxed out with the weights that I have at home, whether it be with a backpack or sandbags, now's the time to take those weights, move them quicker. Move them quicker. Right? And part of that, again, is to generate that speed that we need on the field. If you remember the V that we showed you, that sharper V generates power output, which means you're going to be able to move your opponent or move on the field quicker. If you remember our ball demonstration, where more force is generated, that again shows the sharper V. So even without heavy weights, you can sharpen your V, and that's the whole premise of being an athlete. It's not about how strong you are, but can you take that strength and generate force with it by moving weight faster. We'll see you next week. Have a good week and train hard.